Hi, my name is Neil Benita, and today I want to walk you through the opportunity discovery document, the process where you take an opportunity or a problem that you identified in your product that you want to work on, and how you might tackle it before jumping straight into a solution to make sure that you have everything laid out in front of you and kind of get the best results. Now, this might be interesting if you're a product designer or a product manager, or really if for any person that is currently working on products that leverage AI. Now, we'll touch on why specifically it's important for those type of projects in a second. Now, why is this even interesting? And so really our job is to build products that people want to use. That usually means that we're building something that's useful to someone. We identified a real problem that they care about enough to try and maybe switch to our product. That it's usable. That means that we, for that persona that has that problem, we understand what are their capabilities and we could fit a solution that they would be able to easily adopt and use. And then thirdly, it means that it's delightful. So we identify that person, we build something that they can use, but then there's kind of like the third layer is to anticipate their needs so well and understand the context that they're in and what their needs are, that we're able to add these little moments of delight. And the place where this starts is in the problem that we identify. Like if we jump from a problem that we've identified in the data or talking to customers straight to a solution, then we risk having all these hidden assumptions about why that happened or what might a good solution look like. That could really hurt the quality or the outcome that we're trying to drive with what we're building. Now, the reason I said that this is especially important for people who are working on projects or looking to work on projects that leverage AI is that AI is really cool and it's super trendy and popular right now. And it unlocks a bunch of use cases that were not, that we could not tackle beforehand. And that novelty, that cool factor, we can easily mix that up with utility. So just because we can do something now and because it looks cool to us doesn't mean that it's a good idea and that we should build this. And our number one tool, I think, to mitigate that risk of building something that we can build as opposed to something that we should build is by taking the time to unpack that problem. This is the measure twice, cut once adage. And so I think this is where it begins. Now, I want to demonstrate this over a real life example. So I'm going to use Freshmind, which is a service that I'm working on with a couple of friends. This service it's a WhatsApp bot that you kind of share what you're going through, and it creates a personalized guided meditation. Kind of over time, as you share more things with it, the level of personalization is much more bespoke and much more tailored to your needs. Okay, this is generally the kind of like broad context for what we're working on. And the specific problem that we're going to focus on, so this is the onboarding flow. You start communicating with the bot, you get like an intro message, it asks you for your name. You can then choose a voice for the guided meditation, either male or female. You get a few examples of what would be a good prompt or kind of like how to share what you're going through. Make sure that it's not too general, it's not too long, and so on. And then you get asked, okay, now that we're ready, what's on your mind? Please try to speak openly. And of all these steps, we notice that the biggest drop is in this step. So we want to address it because we're going to start doing paid campaigns, and we want to make sure that we capture as much value from that as possible. We lose as few people as possible along the way. when we identified this problem, we immediately had some cool ideas of what we can do differently, but it was important for me to take the time before jumping in to tweaking the flow to make sure that we really understand the problem and all the assumptions about why that problem exists. So this is what it looks like. This is kind of like the opportunity document or brief that I sat down to write. The different sections here are, so first we have the context, which has an overview of the problem, what is the opportunity, some job stories, the hypotheses, the impact that we're looking to drive, and then the beginning of the solution that we're going to build for this problem. And we're going to go over these one by one. So for the overview, this is kind of like the raw data. This is where you gather all the evidence, the talking to users, looking at Mixpanel, talking with your team to kind of like understand what is the problem, why it might occur, talking to your sales team, looking at what competitors are doing. This is kind of like where you collect all the information that's possible. And I don't want to go too much into the details of our specific problem, but we have talked to customers and we understood that this step could be a bit overwhelming because it forces them to kind of like self-reflect. And we know that there is a slight problem with the follow-ups. After you've initially share what you're going through, we leave it to the LLM to determine whether or not it needs additional information from you, and it would ask a follow-up question to make sure that it can generate a personalized meditation. This can sometimes go off the rail and get into a rabbit hole of endless follow-up questions. So that's another problem that we saw here. Differentiating between onboarding and ongoing. So the first time we ask that question versus the consecutive time we ask that question. Right now, it's the exact same flow. Maybe we have an opportunity here by changing this up a little bit. How are users currently handling this problem? Why doesn't that work? So as I said, there's a 20% drop. Why does this problem matter? This is what I said about, we're going to have a paid campaign, and so this is why it's important that we solve this now. And this is the Mixpanel report, and this is the biggest drop that we have. It's between the collect a challenge and the generate a meditation step. Okay, and so it would for sure look different for your problem depending on your context, right? But this is kind of like the step where we collect everything, we gather evidence as kind of like the detectives of the problem. Once we have this raw data, we want to kind of narrow down what is the specific opportunity or the specific problem that the market has, that if we address it, it could create significant value for our users and for our business. And both of them are important. I would try to avoid doing something that's only for one of them. But that could also happen, of course. So for me, I often use the how might we format, but really there's nothing special about it. Use whatever is convenient for you. But just to give some examples, so we have an opportunity here that how might we increase the conversion rate? Currently seeing a 20% drop in the challenge collection step of our onboarding flow. This is kind of like the business opportunity. From the user point of view, let's take, for example, so how might we design our onboarding challenge collection process to gather richer context and get a more personalized and impactful first meditation? So that would be an example for an opportunity for the user side. You can have one opportunity, you can have a few. I would probably try not to have more than 5. Otherwise, you can start diverging. Maybe at this point, you could separate them into different milestones, so that you're building something that's more focused and you can more deterministically say why you're working on this. Job stories, I definitely think this is not a must. This is an exercise that I like to do because I feel like it forces me to put myself in the shoes of the user. And to do that, I have to make sure that I talk to users. I can't write these without actually having experienced the problem myself deeply, or either by talking to a lot of users. So I think this is a good exercise. This is basically means that you use a format of when I blank, I want to blank, so that I. So for example, when I have a simple thought or feeling that I want to share, I want to be able to express it quickly and easily, so that I can simply get a meditation. And we got this. This is pretty much what we currently have. And we got the feedback that it's important that we maintain that. We don't want to let go of it in whatever solution that we end up doing. And then there are some other ones that we want to add. Our next piece is the hypotheses. This is the testable prediction about how the solution that we will build will address the opportunity that we mentioned above. Right? So if we build a certain solution, what is the outcome that we will see? This is important because even if it's wrong, and it's often wrong to some degree at least, after you collect the result, after you build it, you deploy it, and you collect the result, you can revisit this to see what could possibly went wrong along the way, so that you can better plan what to do next. Then this piece is the impact. So we'll have a main KPI and maybe some additional KPIs. This is a very important step, regardless to what stage of a company you are, because this is the outcome that you're actually looking to drive. If our opportunity that we identified, we were correct with this with the assumptions here, and if the hypotheses that we wrote down was correct, then this is the impact that we're looking to show. Now, for us, I wrote this down even though I'm not actually going to look at these numbers. The reason is that we have a few dozen users a month. That is not enough to get a statistically significant result. But even though that I'm not going to look at the actual quantitative results, this is still forces me to be more explicit about the outcome that I'm going to achieve. Now, I'm still going to look at the number, but I'm going to be hesitant to conclude whether or not I was successful just by looking at the numbers. I think for my specific case, it would be much more useful to interview users and to use it myself to see whether or not we solved the problem that we set out to solve. Right, and so this kind of concludes the context part, and now begins the solution part. And this is kind of like the interface between the product manager and the product designer, as I see it. It's the high-level requirements. So what are the main building blocks of the solution that we're going to build? So we're going to let the users write what they're going through, but maybe we're going to add a way for them to get guidance, to reflect on what they're going through. And when they reply or when they provide us with their answers, we are going to offer a follow-up question to go deeper, or kind of like an escape hatch to just meditate. So I will probably expand on this, but just so that you get a better understanding of the type of things I might write in this section. Now, that's a lot. It's important for me to say that this is not kind of like a sacred artifact that once it's written, you must obey it, right? When I, as a designer, take this and start working on implementing a solution, and when we roll this out, we will for sure learn about things that were missing here, things that were wrong here, some assumptions that we made that we probably should not have. So this is kind of like evolves over time, and it makes sure that, like, if we keep it up to date to some degree, right, once you are working on a few of these opportunities, you can't really make sure that they're always the most up to date. But if we keep feeding this and kind of like looking back to this, we make sure that over time, when we're going from opportunity to opportunity, we're maximizing how much we're able to learn from one attempt to the next. Yeah, the last thing I would say that this is a nice method, but it's totally up for you to determine how what it would look like for your specific project and for your specific context. If it was a much smaller feature, I may have not started a document at all. I might just open a ticket. If it's a really large project, I might break it down into several opportunities, which I will tackle in milestones. In fact, this will probably have 2 milestones. So it could change from content from one project to another. The different sections that you choose to implement or write down will definitely change for what better fits your needs. But what is important to take away, kind of like the underlying principle here, is that we put in the time to make sure that we understand the problem that we're trying to solve and the solution that we are going to build or to design, and we build that solution on a solid foundation of a problem that we identified, and on assumptions that we were very articulate and very kind of like explicit on what they are, even if they're wrong. That's it. I hope that this was useful for you. I think this was a really game changer for me to improve this skill, and I'm still improving it over time, because you can obsess over design systems and over UI decisions and over using the most cutting edge foundational model, but really what it comes to is whether or not you're building something that people want to use. And I think one of the biggest ways we as designers and product managers can affect this is by making sure that we do the work of identifying the opportunities, unpacking them, and being deliberate about the outcomes that we're looking to drive. That's it. I hope, as I said, I hope this is useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions, suggestions for me, or if you just want to share how you do it in your organization. And yeah, I wish you a great rest of your day. Thank you.